How about you, little baby? How about you, little baby? Where's your bike? Huh? I thought about taking my shirt off and showing you how this works, the way I'm going to ride it, but I was afraid to not have my shirt on and all the modeling contracts would start coming in and it would distract me from my day job and all my motocross efforts, so I just left this shirt on. Yeah, look at the foliage, guys. It's kind of beautiful. It's the weekend after Thanksgiving in Georgia, and we got brown and green leaves and tan and orange leaves and a nice little gulch here and a rusty old truck that doesn't run in the distance, just what every country scene needs. Yeah, it's beautiful out here, guys. The weather's nice. This is my kind of weather. I love it. I'm from the mid-Atlantic states originally, so when it cools off down here in the south, man, I think it's just beautiful. Today's video is about something really nice that a dear friend of mine did for me. A guy that I used to road race with up in the mid-Atlantic states. I met him when I was riding with Wera in the V7 class. Guy's got a wonderful family, wonderful wife, Holly, love her dearly. Two wonderful daughters, Kirsten and Lily. Lily's doing some flat tracking and some motocrossing of her own as she grows up. And anyway, I met this family, the Kings, and they saw some of my videos of the restorations of the motocross bike, and they had this old bike that's near and dear to my heart. I always wanted one and never had one, and he knew that, and he come across it, and long story short, he made it happen to get it down here to me. Good friend of mine, Greg LaRue, best service manager in the world. Guy I've learned a lot from in my career and in my business and at the racetrack. Love him dearly. And he came down to Thermos Man's place for Thanksgiving holiday. You know, Thermos Man, the famous suspension guru for all the pro road race guys. And they were having Thanksgiving down here, and he invited me there, and that was nice. And man, I really just couldn't thank him enough for taking me in on the holiday. I don't have any family down this way. But when Greg came down, he delivered an 89 KX250 for me that Andrew had come across. Okay, guys, initial assessment here. We got bad rear wheel bearings. See that hub shaking on that axle? That axle is torqued, and the hub's just shaking on it real loose with no resistance or drag. So that rear bearing set's shot. The front seems okay for now. It's dragging real bad on the brake. I don't know that it needs front wheel bearings. I'll probably just change them anyway, just because it needed rears, and I'll just do it. But check this out, guys. Here's the problem with the brake. It's got no hydraulic pressure or fluid in it whatsoever. There's no response at all from the piston, but yet the front brake's dragging its tail off. It's dragging pretty bad. So what that means is these pistons are not free in the caliper. So the front brake system is going to need a complete overhaul. Master cylinder cup and bushings and seals. The rotor itself looks like it rusted a lot on the surface before it got thin. There's a lot of surface rust on that rotor, but it's still thick and it's not gouged. So that rotor should clean up and run just fine. The forks don't look rusted. The tubes don't look like they have a lot of pitting on them. You know, I'll probably throw new seals and fluid in the front end just to do it. But I don't see, there's some old dead animal parts and cocoons and stuff up in there, but I don't see where there's any rusting or pitting on the tube that's going to ruin the seal. So I think the forks are a win. I think that's a score. Scored a nice little triangle stand. That's easy and nice. The throttle grip and throttle assembly looks okay, but we're going to need a throttle cable. See that? See where it got twisted there? So you don't ever want to bend that back straight and trust it again, guys. That's throttle cable time. Clutch cable feels notchy and rough. That might be from the basket. We'll probably get a cable there too. This is fractured. You know, I can TIG it back if I want, or I can just put that in a mill and make it a 2 separate clamp. I mean, there's a lot of rubber mounted designs that don't have that crossover bridge on them anyway, so I'll probably just put it all back together, mill that flat, and run it without the bridge. If it feels wiggly or wobbly after I start riding it, then I'll replace it and fix it, but I don't think I need to actually buy another brand new one of those. I think I can run it. I have no idea if it sparks or not. I haven't pulled the tank off, pulled the plug to see if I have spark. I have no idea what the electrical system is going to do. It looks like it's all there. There's the box, there's the switch, there's wires going down into the stator and you know, magneto and all, so I'm assuming all the electrical parts are there. I just don't know if it all works. Pipe's going to be okay. They wired it on without springs, which is no problem. I just get springs. That pipe's got to be able to flex in and out and bounce on springs. You don't want to hard wire them like that. But yeah, this got a big dent in the pipe, but that's not going to keep it from running. And it's in an area of the pipe where it's not really going to cost that much horsepower really to speak of, so I don't even know if I'll bother fixing that. I might not. I'll at least sand it up and paint it. Of course, you guys know I'm going to do a complete full engine tear down and overhaul no matter what, just for safety reasons. This seat is obviously not the right seat for this bike, but the airbox looks like it's okay, and the tank looks like it's okay. We're going to need new rubber parts for the pad that goes under there and the strap. Not a big deal. The rear brake system is missing. There is no rear caliper or carrier, and there is no rear pedal. This is going to cost me some money. Is a shock. See that shock shaft rusting up there? The fact that it's leaking doesn't bother me. The fact that it probably has no nitrogen in it doesn't bother me. But look at that scoring and rust pitting on the shaft itself. That's enough to make it worth just buying a used shock. And I'll pull that spring out and this bottle out and the adjusters out and save it all for parts. But the shock itself, I'm not going to try to run that shock as an assembly. Not unless I can buy a shaft, a nice beautiful shaft for less than $100. But other than that, I'll just buy a used shock. Obviously, all the plastics either missing or broken. Yeah, I still have, I'll show you this in another video. I still have the old front number plate that bolts onto here that came off my 89 KX125. They use the same front number plate, and I still have that part. So I have one of those from my first original bike. That'd be kind of neat to put that on a ride with that again. Kind of nostalgic. But yeah, chain, rear sprocket for sure, depending on what size, maybe the front one as well. Yeah, she's in rebuildable condition. You know, there's enough there to make it worth rebuilding. So I have no idea what condition the engine's in. Let's take the Kickstarter and see if it'll stroke, even if it's locked up or not. Let's see what's going on. Okay, alright. Yeah, well, the engine seems to have some compression and definitely did turn over. So, you know, it tells me all the parts are in there. You know, you're not going to get any compression without a piston or rings, and it's not going to turn over without a crank and a head and all that stuff. So all the, you know, there's a complete engine there that needs rebuilt. So at the very minimum, it'll get crank bearings and all new gaskets and piston rings and rebuilt, or more. You know, we'll do just like we did on the RM, and we'll inspect the transmission and everything. So yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you to the King family. Thank you, Mr. LaRue, for delivering this. I think there's enough bike here to rebuild, and I think when it's finished, it'll be a nice homage to the bike I always wanted and never had. And I have one now. There she is. So God bless Greg LaRue and the King family, and thank you guys for being here with us. And if you didn't see any of the RM250 restoration videos, do a YouTube search on 1996 RM 250 restoration. I think I used the word complete in the title. Complete RM 250 restoration, 1996. There's another guy that's got a beautiful 92 on there. Has some really good camera work, really good filmography, if you will. Just a beautifully done, nicer to watch series of videos on a 92 that he did. But I thought my videos were, you know, maybe a little more informative because of the verbiage and the conversation and the matter-of-fact details that I include in a restoration video. You know, his videos are maybe a little bit nicer to watch if you want to watch somebody else do a restoration, but my videos are probably a little bit better to watch if you want to do a restoration, if you know what I mean when I say that. So it's going to be $1,500 to $1,700 in parts just to fix this bike. So I'm gonna spend $1,500 in parts to get a $1,500 bike, and that's okay. That's okay, because I got this bike. That's what you either need to do, guys. You need to either go buy a bike like this one that's totally done, totally restored, totally ready to go, totally prepped, totally gone through, safely and professionally assembled, ready to race for, you know, I'd sell that bike for $2,000 because it's totally ready to go and fixed up nice. You know, you can spend $2,000 to get something like that ready to go, or you can get something like this for next to nothing, and then fix it all up and put a whole bunch of money and time in it, and then have yourself, you know, $1,500 to $1,700 worth of bike when you're done. So that's the finances. That's the financials of what you guys need to look at when you go out and buy a bike on the market. But yeah, I mean, I really want to just say thank you to Andrew a second time. I mean, Andrew, buddy, you bless my heart. I've always wanted one of these my whole life, and with the skills and talent and abilities that I have mechanically to fix it, that's no problem. We'll get her up and running and get her fixed nice. And I'm going to be especially proud of this one when I'm done, just because I've always wanted one my whole life. So, thank you, Andrew. I love you, buddy. Everybody, wear your helmets and be safe.